Today on TimesCast, the debate over same-sex marriage in New York heats up with one vote in the state Senate still in question. Internet music site Pandora goes public, but its business model, like other tech startups, faces a tough economic climate. And op-ed columnist Thomas Friedman on the political future of Syrian President Assad.
I hope our Republican colleagues will join us on the right side of history by giving the votes needed to finally pass marriage equality into law.
In Albany, New York State's legislature is close to a contentious vote that would legalize same-sex marriage.
Senate Republican leader Dean Skelos emerged from a 4-hour closed-door meeting of Senate Republicans to announce that they had not yet come to a decision on whether to bring same-sex marriage to the floor or if there were enough votes to pass it in the 62-member Senate. At the moment, there are 31 people, 29 Democrats, and 2 Republicans who have publicly said they will back the bill. It would take one more vote to actually pass it. So why is it taking 4 hours to decide this? For the Senate Republicans, what's really happening here is they're debating not just a very contentious issue with strong feelings on both sides, but really the future of the majority in the state Senate. They have a base in their party that is firmly opposed to this bill. And they're worried that if they take steps to try to pass it, if more votes come out, that conservative activists, conservative leaders in their own party will primary some of those senators, or even worse, maybe refuse to support them in the elections in 2012. It's a big deal for the Republicans. It's a hard issue. Right now, we've had advocates in the Capitol on both sides angrily shouting and protesting, and we're going to wait and see in the next couple of hours if there will be a decision on whether to have a vote and if the votes will be there if there is a vote to pass same-sex marriage in New York.
Especially some Republicans that voted 2 years ago against it, they're ready now. And I think the world has changed. It's not where it used to be. But it'd also be nice to get married in the state that we live in, here in New York.
I'm Evelyn Risley for the New York Times. On the back of a string of strong IPOs in the technology sector, Pandora went public on Wednesday at $16 a share, well above expectations. The stock rose about 25% at the open. The interest in Pandora underscores the rising demand for internet technology companies. In the last few months, we've seen companies like LinkedIn and Yandex surge on their first day of trading. But analysts have raised concerns that these lofty valuations, Pandora, for instance, is roughly trading at a $3 billion valuation, are unhinged from fundamentals, which is reminiscent of the dot-com era. Pandora, for instance, has been bogged down by the royalty fees it pays to record labels to stream music. The company posted a loss last year of $1.8 million. The revenues did double. Earlier today, I spoke with the chief executive, Joe Kennedy, at the New York Stock Exchange. What would you say is the biggest challenge today for Pandora? Is it increasing the number of advertisements you have in order to scale up as users use your service more? Or is it the threat of competitors? We've seen Apple, Amazon, and Google, of course, come out with their own music cloud initiative.
We're really focused on just improving the experience we provide to our listeners every day and giving them that opportunity to listen to Pandora everywhere they're demanding to listen to it, in the car, in the home.
Despite concerns, investors are still piling into these companies, especially in anticipation of some blockbuster IPOs expected over the next year. Facebook, Groupon, and Zynga within the next 12 months at multi-billion-dollar valuations.
When it comes to the question of what it would take for the Syrian regime of President Bashar al-Assad to actually fall, obviously that's a very hard question to answer. These kinds of regimes, and I think it's particularly true of this one, when they break, they tend to break at the top. I can see 2 scenarios where Assad would fall. One, if there were a real splinter in the family. This is basically a mafia family type regime. If you want to understand this, study The Sopranos, don't study Switzerland. And if not that, what could happen is that these widening protests continue to widen, continue to explode at different parts of the country, and you start to get Sunni Muslim units from the army defecting. Right now, one always has to remember, this is a minority-led government led by an Alawite faction. Alawites are an offshoot of Shiism, but this is a basically Sunni Muslim country. So you have this Alawite minority ruling over the Sunni Muslims. And they've been very effective at recruiting and incentivizing and paying off and buying off a lot of Sunni support. The $64,000 question is, at some point, does that break? Does it break in the big cities of Damascus and Aleppo? We haven't seen that happen yet. And does it break in the army? You know, right now, the units that have been basically leading the crackdown have been the elite Alawite-led units of the army. So what I'm watching for is, will you see a break at the top, or will you see a break at the top of the Sunni military and economic structure in Syria that would then really begin to turn not just protest but arms against the regime?